Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for coming to the JFS Annual Meeting. You guys hear me? I'm Allison Cates, Board President. It's hard to believe it's already been a year since I stood here to be installed as President. I'd like to say a special thank you to all of the board members who are here and those who are watching online. I'm so honored to be leading a board made up of so many diverse and dedicated professionals who all share one goal: to help carry out the mission of JFS. If you were at Seize the Dream, or if you had a chance to watch the one-word video, you may remember that the word I used to describe JFS was hope. I am hopeful because so many of you, board, staff, donors, and volunteers, remain committed to supporting JFS with your time, talent, and treasure. And I am hopeful that by working together, we can continue to provide needed assistance to the many vulnerable individuals and families who have come to rely on JFS. Now I'd like to introduce Rabbi Elyse Abrahams to say a few words. Rabbi Abrahams was ordained at Hebrew College and received both rabbinic ordination and a master's degree in Jewish education. She is originally from Tucson, Arizona, and now lives in Natick with her husband, their son, and their dog.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Temple Beth Shalom. It's so nice to have you all in our home, especially because of the beautiful collaboration between Temple Beth Shalom and Jewish Family Services connected to the Jewish value of welcoming the stranger. Here at Temple Beth Shalom, we have the Refugee Resettlement Initiative led by our own Rob Andrews, and another congregant, Sarah Kesselman, and their work spearheading this initiative has really transformed Temple Beth Shalom and our work with this value of welcoming the stranger. They are involved in many different ways. One of it is organizing congregants to help out, facilitating getting a new storage unit so that Rob can take lots of different donations and be able to furnish an apartment on a moment's notice, as well as educating our community with our students, where now part of the 6th grade curriculum, they learn about JFS's mission, as well as the refugee resettlement, and get to be educated and participate in a project. People can also choose for their Be Mentor project to work here as well. We're really fortunate to infuse these values together. One more thing I want to lift up is working with specific families who have come. And currently we are working with a Venezuelan family who have really infused themselves into our community. It's been a really beautiful partnership. They've been supportive in many different ways. They've come to Shabbat services and excitedly been up on the bima, getting a blessing, excitedly come and supporting our own congregants. One in particular worked really hard to get the father a license. She took him driving. Other congregants donated cars, and one even took him to get his license, which he passed, enabling him to be able to have more job opportunities. So it's really a blessing to see how much work is being infused through Temple Beth Shalom and JFS, and we're so thankful to be in partnership. I'd just like to offer a blessing to you all. Rabbi Yirmiyah from the Talmud said, "The one occupied with the needs of the community is like the one who is occupied with matters of Torah." You all have engaged in incredibly sacred work this year and beyond. Your dedication to Torah extends throughout our community of the greater Boston area. Your commitment to Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, resonates globally, touching countless lives. May the work you have done continue to fill your spirit and propel you forward to even more accomplishments. May your compassion extend to even more distant places, and may you go from strength to strength. A heartfelt mazel tov to the board members stepping down, and an equally heartfelt mazel tov to those joining the board. And as you head into the summer, may you all find some moments of much needed rest and renewal. And let us all say, Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. When I was installed as president last year, I spoke about my passion for mental health and my commitment to ensuring the mental health and well-being of our clients and staff. To that end, I created a mental health work group, which is made up of 6 professionals who work in various areas of mental health, led by the ever wonderful Rosie. and is tasked with finding ways to support the mental health needs of JFS staff and clients. We know that many of our clients, particularly our immigrant and refugee population, and now some of our staff, have experienced significant trauma, which has a direct impact on their mental well-being. We are working hard to create a trauma-informed culture at JFS. However, there is still more work to be done. I'm delighted to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Jill Bloom, who has dedicated her career to understanding the effects of trauma on mental health. Dr. Bloom is a professor of clinical psychology at William James College, where she also serves as director of the Global Mental Health Concentration, co-director of the Center for Multicultural and Global Mental Health, and faculty member of the African and Caribbean Mental Health Concentration. I'm not sure she does it. Dr. Bloom is a licensed clinical psychologist and holds a certificate in global mental health, trauma, and recovery from the Harvard Program in Refugee Trauma, or Vieto, Italy. Dr. Bloom has been and remains a valued JFS partner, having assisted significantly in the trauma-informed resettlement work of the Syrian Humanitarian Resettlement Project. Dr. Bloom?
Well, it's lovely to be here, and I'm just delighted to be back at JFS. I'm suffering from allergies, so I'm really croaky, so I will hope I don't start coughing, but I've got my water. I was thinking and talking with Marc that in 2016, Marc, who had been on the board of trustees at William James College, contacted our president, Nick Cordino, who then contacted me as director of the Global Mental Health Program, and to talk about the project that they were just starting, the Syrian Refugee Resettlement Project, and wanted to get some involvement with William James, which is a graduate school of psychology. So I was delighted to learn about the program, to then meet Rosie and begin working with Rosie. And over the next several years, a number of my students and I worked in various capacities with Rosie and with the resettling the refugees. And one of my students, and Marc was incredibly supportive of this, did her dissertation on a program evaluation of the Syrian Refugee Resettlement Project. And what she found, won't go into her very extensive methodology, but she had total access to all data. And she was looking at the two goals of the project. One was for families to become self-sufficient and for families to have authority over their decisions and life choices. And without going into her analysis, the results indicated that the goals in the early stages were being accomplished. And I think this really indicates, and the project, the extensiveness of the project is just astounding. I teach about it all the time, and it really is what we see. So, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. What I want to talk about is promoting a trauma-informed workplace. And I want to commend Rosie and JFS for acknowledging the impact of trauma on the workplace and for proposing a program to mitigate the negative physical and psychological health outcomes, or often referred to as the occupational hazards for staff and administrators. So as introduction to what trauma-informed culture is, I thought a good place to begin is with definitions of related terms. There's a lot of confusion about a number of these terms. So what I want to define, I'll go into a little more depth about defining the word trauma. What is trauma? It's something that's part of our vernacular today, but it hasn't always been. That has to be embedded concept in psychology until relatively recently. And then more briefly, I want to define vicarious trauma, compassion fatigue, and burnout, all kind of related that affect those who work with people who have experienced trauma. And then I want to conclude with the definition of a trauma-informed workplace. So to begin, the word trauma comes from the Greek word trauma, Troma, and literally means wound or to pierce. Trauma is a slippery term. It can indicate a physical injury, as it still is used in medical settings. You hear about a trauma unit, not psychological trauma, but physical trauma. But it also has come to define an experience or an emotional response. The American Psychological Association's definition of trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event, such as an accident, crime, natural disaster, physical or emotional abuse, experiencing or witnessing violence or war. And then psychological trauma is further defined as a person's, I think this is important to really, kind of listen to this language, a person's experience of emotional distress. So it's the experience of the stress. It's not an objective fact of the event. And so a person's experience of emotional distress resulting from an event that overwhelms their capacity to emotionally digest it. Of note, it also acknowledges that people process experiences differently. Not everyone has the same reaction to any event. And when what one person experiences as traumatic may not cause distress for another. And trauma has a fascinating history and a really quite complicated history that I don't have time to really elaborate upon. But I want to briefly speak to several points that illustrate this history. Today, and this is very recent, trauma has come to be our normal means of related present suffering to past violence. But this hasn't always been. This is fairly recent. PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, which I'm sure people are familiar with, is the first diagnosis of trauma in the DSMs. And it was first in the 1980 DSM-3. It was first diagnosed for Vietnam soldiers and later extended in the 80s to victims of sexual abuse, and has, in this country, remained somewhat connected to that experience. Therapeutically, PTSD is something to work through, to get over. However, many practitioners in global mental health take issue with this therapeutic goal, that it has to be worked through, it has to be gotten over, or one will be consigned to pathology. Lawrence Langer, a professor of literature, whose work is very much informed my own thinking. He's a professor of literature, but he has also raised questions about the therapeutic goal to work through and get over trauma. In Langer's extensive work with Holocaust testimonials, he makes a distinction between what he calls durational trauma, which is static in time. It's something that one inhabits or it inhabits in time. And at the same time, chronological trauma, which is something that takes place in time. And he's argued that one can be defined by trauma, but not disabled by it. And that's not always something that is acknowledged within trauma theory. And he stated, it's an event to be endured, not a trauma to get over. And he writes eloquently about this. Similarly, Peter Ventevogel, who's a Dutch psychiatrist and officer of the UNHCR, which is the UN agency, refugee agency, and from his work, fairly extensive work recently with Afghan refugees, he cautioned, do not underestimate their suffering and do not overestimate their psychopathology. Too often, too quickly, and too easily, suffering is equated with psychopathology. And suffering, as those of us who work with people who have experienced trauma, suffering is very difficult to witness, to hear about. So what I want to emphasize is that trauma is not as straightforward as it sometimes might seem. In a recent workshop I led at the Mass Psychological Association on working with refugees, several points I made were, one, that culture influences how people experience and express suffering, how they explain misfortune, and how they seek help. But that's cultural. From our culture, how we express suffering. And second, it's problematic to assume that the majority of refugees are traumatized and require psychotherapy. The third point is problematic as well, to conflate refugee and war victim into a general category, again, associated with psychopathology. And last, interventions aimed at improving living conditions and livelihoods significantly contribute to improved mental health, perhaps more than any psychological or psychiatric intervention, which I think that was so true in so much of the work with the Syrian refugees. So that's a rather extensive discussion and definition of the ways in which trauma has come to be understood, but we need to have a broader way of understanding it, a broader cultural way. So the second term I want to much more briefly define is vicarious trauma. I don't know if this is one that people are familiar with. If anybody has heard this, sometimes it's referred to as secondary trauma. And this is a negative reaction to exposure to trauma or another's suffering. And this can occur through empathic engagement with persons who have experienced trauma. So just by being with, I mean, this is something working closely in therapy, in whatever work that one does, that just that openness of being empathic, feeling their feelings is often one of the definitions of empathy. So just that empathic engagement. And you know, for many, it could be an occupational challenge for people who work or volunteer with trauma survivors and are exposed to trauma stories, and or witness suffering, fear, pain, and terror. One of, actually, Marty Rosie knows well, Richard Malika, who's the director of the Harvard Program in Refugee Trauma, and he often talks about, you know, when you're sitting with somebody who's experienced really dramatic trauma, that one doesn't, you know, the goal in clinically is not to elicit the trauma story, to ask about it, but wait if it emerges. And as he says, if it emerges, you better be able to sit there and listen and hold that with them. And I've often been asked, who is most at risk for experiencing vicarious trauma? And my answer is most anyone who engages empathically with people who have experienced trauma. And for people who have histories of trauma, working with others can be re-traumatized. And I just want to highlight some of the secondary symptoms for vicarious trauma. It could be, you know, feelings and kind of ongoing, lingering feelings of anger, rage, sadness about the client's experience, becoming overly involved emotionally with the client, experiencing what's called bystander guilt or shame.
I'll do that when I'm ready.
Out, being preoccupied with thoughts of clients outside of work, over-identification with the person, loss of hope, pessimism, cynicism, feeling somewhat distanced and numb. So when you see it, doesn't impact. And then a third term is compassion fatigue. This is familiar. And this is kind of beyond empathy, also known as secondary traumatic stress. It's a gradual lessening of compassion. It can be a result of a numbing, of it being overwhelmed and just emotionally distancing and numbing oneself. And kind of related, kind of sequentially, is burnout, which I think is probably a more well-known term. And this was emotional exhaustion, feeling emotionally overextended, depleted, and with increased disillusion. So I want to just very, in a few moments, just talk about a trauma-informed workplace. So workplaces that understand, and a definition is workplaces that understand the presence of trauma, acknowledge the role trauma can play in a person's life, and promote work environments that support the individual and collective well-being of all staff and clients. They create a sense of belonging, connection, and safety through their attitudes, policies, and practices. And as a result, organizations that are trauma-informed are more resilient and better able to achieve their missions. So some of their, you know, the symptoms of the workplace being affected by the trauma work is behaviorally, it can lead to changing jobs, being tardy, late, kind of free-floating anger, absenteeism, irritability, Interpersonally, one can see more staff conflict, blaming others, poor relationships, poor communication. In terms of job performance, can result in low motivation, increased errors, decreased quality of work, and a lack of flexibility. And I barely touched the surface of what's involved in promoting a trauma-informed workplace, but I want to conclude with one final definition. And this is of organizational resilience. Resilient organizations are built and nurtured through organizational respect, a strong sense of organizational identity, intentional setting of structures, processes, and spaces for reflection, optimistic leadership, and positive connections both internally and externally. Thank you.
Dr. Jill doesn't go anywhere. I have a little thank you for your presentation today. Trauma-informed workplace is really important to us. I think when I spoke to Rosie, you know, one of the things we're seeing, we have been taking care of an aging population for many years. And I think one of the hardest things is for one of our direct service providers to come into the office and say, one of my clients passed away. Right, and I think this is one of the areas that we really want to make sure that we're taking care of our staff, volunteers as well. As you know, we're using volunteers in so many areas of direct service, so we have a process just for people to talk about. I think it's important to talk about it. So I just want to thank you very much for being our guest speaker. And what I have for you, it is our 45th anniversary this year. It's 1979. 45 years of providing service to the community. We have a commemorative coin, of course, and that coin says JFS Accelerating Equity, Community Invested, Staff Driven, Volunteer Powered, from generations to generation. Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Lino, Covarrubias, the CEO of this wonderful organization, JFS. And again, let's big round of applause for Dr. Jill. I have the most fun part of the evening, and that's to give out some awards, some very well-deserved awards. The first awards is what we call the CEO Roll Up Your Sleeve Awards, literally Roll Up Your Sleeve Awards. I'll give these awards out. These are not in any order, by the way. Doesn't mean like the first person is the top or the last person is the top. I just gotta go with the script. But this is exciting for me because I have to tell you, as I was just mentioning with Dr. Jill, we could not do our work without our volunteers. We have 350 active volunteers. That is no joke. 350 currently active volunteers. And we have in the last few years very much been on a strategy to train our volunteers to be in the direct service roles. It started with our patient navigator program. How many people here are part of our patient navigator program? Right, we have a few. I know we have a bunch of people on Zoom that have signed up on Zoom. This is what happens now. We do hybrid meetings. Before, this room will be full. The other half is on Zoom. So welcome everybody on Zoom. We just could not do or execute our mission without volunteers. So I have to say, I would want to give every volunteer roll up our sleep award, but we'd be here all night. So we have to select some of our really special ones. The first one, and when I mention your name, please come up here. Don't be shy. Is Rob Andrews. Rob, come up here. And I'm going to say a few words as he's coming up here. Rob has been a dedicated volunteer at JFS for over 3 years. In 2021, Rob began supporting an Afghan family who had been displaced from their home after the fall of Kabul. Rob, along with a team of volunteers, helped the family acclimate to their new home and their American lifestyle. Pretty tough job there, Rob. In 2023, Rob became invested in collecting furniture, as you heard from Rabbi Elyse, to set up apartments. You know, what happens when we have new arrivals, they come, we meet them at the airport, and then we say, where are they gonna live? Right, so we're lucky we have an apartment, we're lucky we have volunteers that can quickly mobilize and get the apartment furnished. And Rob has been a master of this. And the mastery of it has been able for him to find furniture and find places to store, right? Because it's almost like on demand. We have families coming in, we have an apartment, we can't be asking for furniture then, right? It's a delayed response. We have to have it ready to go. And so what started as collecting items for social media, community pages and storing in his own garage, right? Literally, his own garage was filled with furniture. It still is. That expanded to Rob acquiring a significantly larger storage space, thanks to your friend, Jay Grossman. And basically we were able to put just a lot of furniture in storage. Through Rob's network and community connections, he had inspired several organizations such as Daisy Troops, churches, and definitely churches. We've been able to engage some churches in Dover, Sherborne to this critical work. And also individual bar mitzvahs projects to focus their donating efforts on supporting clients of JFS. Rob is tremendously efficient, kind-hearted, dependable, and always makes himself available for JFS. You know, Rob, you'd have a job at JFS any day you want. Okay, he likes volunteer, all right, just keep that in mind. Rob is instrumental in the work of immigrant services, and JFS is privileged to have a volunteer who always goes above and beyond. Rob, well deserved. I'm serious about that job, Rob. Next, Danielle Flipix. Is Daniel here? Come on up, Daniel. As Daniel comes up, Daniel has been a virtual visitor volunteer since December of 2021. He regularly calls a socially isolated older woman. When I first read this, I had tears in my eyes, so hopefully I can hold it up. A family assistance client who lives alone has few social supports. They share lively conversations about their shared interests, and she looks forward to his calls each week. Daniel actively reaches out to the family assistance case manager to give updates on her health and family issues, as well as any concerns he has. Once she had been discharged home from a hospitalization, he dropped off homemade chicken soup to her at her apartment. That's the one we got. He recently attended her 75th birthday party, and she was thrilled to include him in the celebration. When he is going on vacation and will be unavailable, he communicates this so we can arrange for additional calls and support. She frequently expresses her appreciation for his calls and views him as a blessing and an angel, quote unquote. She once shared that his work with her meets all the goals of the program because he helps to reduce her social isolation and loneliness. His support makes a tangible difference in her quality of life. Thank you so much. All right. That is beautiful. Carol and George, where are you? Come up. Come on up. As they come out, Carol and George are such amazing volunteers at JFS. And it's Carol and George. It's not just Carol or George. They're always together when they volunteer. You have answered the call every time we have reached out. Your tireless efforts and unwavering commitment have had a profound impact on our organization and the community we serve. Your selfless acts of kindness, generosity, whether it's the Rosh Hashanah, Passover meals, you name it. You guys say, yes, whatever you need. And we're so grateful for the invaluable support they have provided. Carol and George, by the way, is a fellow Navy veteran, submariner, right? I would never have been in the submarine, George, sorry. Yeah, I know. Your enthusiasm inspires us all, and we are incredibly fortunate to have you as part of our team. Thank you for making a difference and for being shining examples of compassion and service. I love doing this. Do this all night. Okay. Lauren Marks, are you here, Lauren? I don't think you were gonna make it, but I will, I do want to read the citation. Lauren has picked up so many appointments as she's a patient navigator since she started with our program in the fall of 2023. It often takes last minute or hard to fill appointments. Many times we have those when there's a cancellation. Our patient navigator program, just those who do not know, we offer enhanced medical escort for mostly older adults, frail older adults. It's just not a transportation service. We're acting like family members, where we go, we plan ahead for the medical visit, we talk to our client, and then go to the medical visit, take notes, and then take those notes back, as you probably saw if you were at Seize a Dream, and we actually help the client implement those recommendations from the medical practitioner. And many times the medical practitioner takes much more time with our patient navigator, because here's a professional taking notes, right? So Lauren has lived in the Metro West area for her whole life. She's married and has one daughter who got married this past September, Mazel Tov. Lauren has a small immediate family, but a large extended family on both sides who live close by. Lauren has known about JFS for many years because she used to volunteer as a friendly visitor. That was one of our legacy programs. She was looking for a volunteer opportunity, and patient navigator sounded interesting to her and gave her a lot of flexibility. Lauren likes to volunteer to give back and help others. She does not look to gain anything from volunteering with JFS other than feeling good about helping and connecting with other people. Let's give her a round of applause. Sabina, are you here, Sabina? I know you're also not. Okay, Sabina Rosenfeld, I'll read the citation. Sabina began volunteering with JFS in joint efforts to support our Ukrainian clients. As a Russian and Ukrainian speaker, Sabina has the capability to connect with the clients on a more personal level. Sabina's warm and gentle persona allows the clients to feel more at home and safe. Since the influx of Ukrainian clients, Sabina has stepped up to the challenge, since the influx of non-Ukrainian clients, that's slowed down a bit for us, the Ukrainian war evacuees. Sabina has stepped up to the challenge and has offered to help clients of all different backgrounds, including Guatemalans and Venezuelans, which has been an area we've had quite a few asylum seekers and also refugees. Sabina is always reliable and has never let us down. She has assisted in fulfilling countless requests, including but not limited to grocery shopping, delivering food, showing clients around their new town, airport pickups, cooking culturally appropriate welcome meals, and providing transportation to medical appointments. Sabina is a crucial asset to our volunteer team and feel very fortunate to have her support. Let's give her a round. So next is a very special award we call the Ellen Block Youth Leadership Award. And to give the award, I'd like to welcome our Senior Director of Development, Jay Lindbergh. Of Philanthropy. Development and Philanthropy.
So nice to see everybody here today. It's wonderful. So I have the pleasure of presenting the Ellen Block Award. And for many of you who know Ellen, she's sorry she couldn't be here tonight. They're vacationing in Rhode Island. But Ellen was a volunteer and an employee of JFS. And she led our efforts in welcoming and resettling families, many Jewish families from the former Soviet Union. Ellen was tirelessly in her efforts on behalf of these families who needed a safe place to resettle in our community. Ellen has also always believed that today's youth embody hope for the future. And for that, Ellen created JFS's first New American and Russian youth enrichment programs in the early 1990s.
Ellen has an unfailing belief and pride in the youth's capacity to embrace change and challenges through their unselfish giving of their time, talent, and enthusiasm. They are the leaders of tomorrow. The Ellen Block Youth Leadership Award was established in her honor to recognize someone who has demonstrated all those qualities. It is my honor to award this year's Ellen Block Youth Leadership Award to Levi Lasser, a student at the Rashi School who just graduated. Unfortunately, Levi can't be here tonight. He's in London seeing Taylor Swift. And I want to thank Joni Fishman, Dean of the Rashi Middle School, who provided me with some words about Levi, which I'll share with you. Levi is a star who will bring community building leadership and academic depth to anything he does. Levi has always been ready to give back to his community, and in 6th grade, he quickly joined the student government and has remained an active participant in the Rashi student government throughout his middle school years. At the start of this year, Levi continued to forge his unbelievably strong connection with JFS as eyewitness, as to fill backpacks with school supplies for children in need. His desire to give back is fostered by his incredibly generous parents. His mom, Jessica, who many of you know, is on the board of Temple Beth Elohim, where she's vice president of Tikkun Olam, Repairing the World, and on the Temple's Leadership Council and Social Action Committee, where she's been instrumental in helping lead the Syrian refugee resettlement team, which has partnered with JFS from the beginning in 2016. Levi speaks often of his pride in learning not to take for granted what he's blessed to have, and most importantly, to give back. Levi, through his family's refugee involvement, has learned not only to welcome strangers, but to embrace learning how similar all children are and how much can be learned from opening oneself to experiencing other cultures. Most recently, and all of us at JFS witnessed this, it was a beautiful thing. Levi and his family helped make his classmates aware of the need for supplies for many of our refugee families. And under Levi's extraordinary leadership, his classmates collected 11 bins of personal care items and brought them to the JFS Resource Center, where they would all be given out to our refugee families. It was really an unbelievable event to see the Rashi Learning and Leadership Council team members carrying in 11 bins of personal care items that they all collected together, and it was all under Levi's leadership. It was incredible. So please join me in congratulating Levi in London, who's probably sleeping right now, on receiving this year's award.
Thank you, Jane, and congratulations to Levi. Mark, why aren't you in London? Taylor Swift.
3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks, but Taylor Swift will be there. That's exciting, Taylor Swift. The next award is what we call the Community Humanitarian Award. And I do have some comments before we have the person who will be I'll find it. Here we go. The Community Humanitarian Award. The Community Humanitarian Award is one that is given out to recognize a community partner that has gone above the call of duty to assist JFS with its critical mission. This year, the award will be presented to Carmel Movers by our staff member in Immigrant Services that is involved with moving and outfitting apartments, which would be very appropriate, Sarah Lekew. Sarah.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I guess you don't really talk back to me, huh? As Lino said, my name is Sarah Lekew. I work with the resettlement group and specifically housing apartments. I work closely with Rob, as we were talking about. He is my go-to volunteer. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of moving needs. I met Jen kind of randomly, Jen and Vivo over there, they are the owners of Carmel. We kind of met randomly and I explained to her what we were doing and they offered to help. So I have a few words I just would like to say for them.
And as she says those words, come up, please.
Yeah, come on up. By the way, Carmel Movers is a family-owned company and by husband and wife, Vivo and Jeff. All right, Carmel Movers has been partnering with JFS since 2023 and has assisted in over 15 client moves.
Wow.
By offering discounted services, Carmel Movers has shown their dedication to supporting a vital portion of welcoming the clients of immigration services. Their response time is swift and their flexibility when given short timeframes displays their commitment to always providing the finest services. When I say short timeframes, sometimes it's a week and they are always there for us and very, very supportive. Their moving teams are always reliable, professional, and personable and continuously take the extra step to be sure that all of our needs are met. JFS is proud to partner with Carmel Movers to continue the efforts of supporting those in need in our community.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Oh, so that's not my phone, it's a big phone. Thank you, Sarah, and congratulations to Carmel Movers, really special. The next award is an award that we don't give out every year, right? Some of these awards are yearly awards, some are not. The following award is the Marc Jacobs Innovation Award. I'm so glad that you're here tonight, Marc, because this is an award in your honor. Encouraging and cultivating new ideas, incubating new approaches, collecting and analyzing data and demonstrating impacts, creating deep and vibrant partnerships, experimenting with different solutions to accelerate social, academic, and health equity are deeply embedded in the JFS culture, part of the legacy of previous CEO, Marc Jacobs. In his honor, the Marc Jacobs Innovation Award is given to individuals, teams, or organizations that have demonstrated exceptional creativity, regionality, and breakthrough thinking in developing innovative products, services, processes, or solutions to challenges or problems. One such significant challenge is the affordable housing crisis, and it's a big crisis. An alarmingly high number of Framingham residents, particularly those living on a low or fixed income, are facing eviction and homelessness due to lack of affordable housing. According to a Housing Massachusetts report, unquote, housing production is one of the most profound challenges facing Massachusetts, and one in which each city and town has a unique and important role to play. Creating enough homes to accommodate the next generation of workers while also addressing the complex needs of an aging and increasingly diverse population will require cities and towns across the state to implement new plans, creative ideas, and policies, and I will underscore creative, that usher a new era of housing production. Acknowledging that growing its way out of the housing crisis is a long-term strategy that does not address critical and immediate needs. The city's leaders embarked upon a creative partnership with JFS. Now I speak to city leaders, talking about Framingham. Committing time, thought, staffing, financial resources, the city of Framingham helped catalyze a supported home share program that connects older adults in need of affordable housing with others who have extra space in their homes. We call it the Golden Girls Project. Everybody remember the series, right? Golden Girls moving in together. Home sharing not only increases housing affordability, it increases disposable income, mitigates social isolation, increases safety, provides housemates access to needed benefit assistance, reduces negative health outcomes, because people are keeping an eye on each other, and enhances the quality of life of all involved. JFS is pleased to present this year's Marc Jacobs Innovation Award to the City of Framingham's Planning and Community Development Department. Sarki, come up here with your whole team. And as they come up here, Sarkin and I, and another one of our community leaders, have a monthly conversation, and problem solving, thinking about new ideas, because I really believe this is the way we're going to figure out ways to house people, and is really thinking of crazy, innovative ideas. And home share is just the start.
Thank you. On behalf of the City of Framingham and Mayor Siziski, I am so grateful for what you guys do. We need more organizations. We need people like you volunteers. We need to help each other. And the work that you do, I'm so grateful. When we approached this idea, I called the City of Austin, and they actually have a lab for housing. They have folks that study housing. How can we create more affordable housing? And I mentioned JFS and what you guys do, what your mission is. And I think that mission needs to be stated over and over, because you guys are helping other people. And that's what this is all about. And I'm just so grateful. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank my staff here, Jack and Nate. Managing these grants is a nightmare. They won't let me near the paperwork, because I just think the federal government loves to have more paper. But without their help, and of course, I see an elected official in the office, everyone who's here is a team. We're a team. And the mayor really wanted to be here and to say thank you. So on behalf of, again, of Mayor Siziski, thank you so much. Wait a minute, you gotta get this right.
This will go on the Framingham's website.
Congratulations to the Framingham Planning Community Development Department. It really is a pleasure working with all of you. We have great teams. Last but not least, on the awards, is my favorite. They're all my favorite, but this one is a particularly really special. This is the Liebel Award. Every time I talk about the Liebel Award, it reminds me of how long I've been at JFS, because this is the reason why I came to JFS with this person that I'll talk about, whose award is in their honor, left because her husband had another job in the Midwest. The following award has very special meaning for anyone who had the pleasure of working with the Assistant Executive Director, Susan Liebel. Upon her departure in 2008, that's 16 years ago, JFS honors Susan's amazing positive impact to all things JFS by establishing an award in her name. We don't call it the Oscar, we call it the Liebel. The intent of the Liebel Award is to recognize a staff member or members who have made continued professional growth and development, enhancing the JFS mission. This year, we have 2 recipients. And I just kind of keep it simple. Instead of reading these whole things, when then people would say, oh, I know exactly who's getting it, I just kind of throw some bullets that are common with these 2 recipients. Number 1, energetic and enthusiastic. Number 2, love a challenge. I mean, nothing we throw at them, they don't say, oh, I can't do that. They'll say, no problem. Super engaging, number 3. Number 4, always focused on the mission. Number 5, extremely competent. Number 6, which is really important for our work, compassionate and always sporting a smile. And most importantly, a pleasure to work with. Congratulations to this year's Legal Award winners, Sarah LeCue and Mandy Flavin. Come on up. And he's like, not me, please. Okay, move this way. This way. Congratulations. Congratulations, Sarah and Andy. Well deserved. All right, everybody. A very important part of our annual meeting is our discharge and installation of our board members. And so we actually start the business side of our meeting. And I'd like to welcome our board president to come back up and kick off our business meeting.
Hard to follow all that with this. Congratulations to all of our volunteers and staff award winners. So I think all I need to do is ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the 2023 annual meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Excellent. The motion passes. The minutes have been approved. Thank you. And now I would like to call Meyer Levy, our treasurer, to do a treasurer's report.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm Meyer Levy. I'm the treasurer of JFS. I'll try and make this just a minute or two, but I want to cover a couple of quick things. Firstly, as the treasurer, I will tell you, Lino and his team make my job as treasurer extremely easy. Perfect financial reporting every month. Whatever questions I have, they respond right away, give me the answers that I need, no issues at all. If you're seeing, I'm not sure if you're seeing on the screen. So for the organization is a fiscal year end September. So what you're seeing is the most recent fiscal year end September 2023. It mentions that it's unaudited. The financial statements for the organization have since been finalized by our independent third-party CPA firm, which are right in line with the numbers that you're seeing. As you can see, I mean, the organization is really growing. We've got now revenues, cash receipts of close to $5 million, and expenses are about 4.75, so showing a decent surplus, and again, in a very strong position. And then lastly, the statement of financial position, or the balance sheet, which would show between investments and cash in excess of $6 million that Lino and his finance committee team do a great job in overseeing, making sure it's good diversification of the various assets. And I'll share this with you as well. The net assets, which are made up of both restricted and unrestricted funds, now in this last fiscal year, we now even have, I think it's just in excess of 500,000, a real endowment, a donor endowment, so that's just great for the organization. So in summary, very strong position, and Lino and his team are doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you, Meyer. I'll have to say, Meyer, as many of you know, he's a CPA and he does a lot of his work in nonprofit. So I can tell you, he keeps us on our toes. He's always asking these different questions. And so it's been great having you, Meyer, because you really have, was there a move? Oh, thank you. We've done actually a lot of learning from you because you've asked us some of the questions that we in the past have not been asked. And they were really important questions, particularly in the area of accounts receivables. I think a lot of the work we do with the Commonwealth and any federally funded programs, it's all on a reimbursement model, right? So we may have sometimes close to $1 million of funds that are owed to us, right? But we have to pay our staff every 2 weeks, right? So managing cash is really important and making sure we know the timing and when that's coming. The more government work we do, because we will be doing more, and I'll talk about that in my comments, the more we have to watch that, because that's, there's delay in those receipts. Okay. Now we're going to, it's my pleasure to introduce our discharge and installation officer today. And it's really interesting because there's so many connections with Rabbi Braham David. And I'm looking for my comments on that. Braham, while I'm looking for that, you can come up to have you ready to go. So we have a lot of history with Rabbi David. First, he's a son and son-in-law of 2 rabbis, right? His father was the first rabbi in the U.S. from India. And also his wife, Naomi Blumberg, is the daughter of Herman Blumberg, emeritus rabbi from Temple of Shir Tikva. And also, Naomi and Braham adopted both their children from JFS. Now, like you said, now they're 17 years old, 17 and 18. And I remember this case so well when I first got to JFS 16 years ago. It's an amazing story of perseverance. What an adventure for another time. And last but not least, Ann Budner is one of his congregants. So when I was thinking I would be the perfect person, you're it. So thank you so much for saying yes, and I'd like to turn it over to you. Let's give a big round of applause.
I didn't bring slides this time. I had slides when Naomi and I came to the meeting 14 years ago. We brought slides from the whole adoption story from Nepal and adoption choices. So I didn't bring the slides. So another time for that. So again, I'm Rabbi Braham David from Congregation Beth Elohim in Acton. It's a pleasure and honor for me to discharge and install the JFS board for 2023-2024. It's extra special as our congregant Ann Budner is here being installed into the JFS board tonight. Many thanks to all the board members being discharged for their commitment to JFS, and welcome to those being installed. Great community-based nonprofits like JFS are the product of great governance, such as that exhibited by the JFS board. Thanks to all of you for your dedication to JFS. First, being discharged after 3 full terms of service, 9 years in total, is Javier Ceballos, whose final term is expiring in 2024. Also, the following board members have stepped down and are being discharged: Tiffany Lilly, Omawali Stewart, Shai Tab, and Nadia Valentin. We are grateful for your service to our community and know you will always remain part of the JFS family. The following board members with terms expiring in 2024 being discharged will be reinstalled shortly: Fernando Castro, Deborah Gottbetter, Sophie Hearn, Denise Rosenblum, Caesar Stewart, and Phil Strauss, as well as youth board members Ben Gelber and Ben Myers. Again, thank you for your dedicated service to JFS. And now on to the reinstallation and installation. But before I do that, I want to remind all of you of your responsibilities as officers and directors in accordance with the Attorney General of Massachusetts. Straight out of the Massachusetts Attorney General's Guide, here is your charge. If you are a trustee or a member of the board of directors of a charitable organization, you and your fellow board members are responsible for the governance of the organization. the law imposes upon you two primary duties: the duty of care and the duty of loyalty. The duty of care means that you must act with such care as an ordinarily prudent person would employ in your position. The duty of loyalty means that you must act in good faith and in a manner that you reasonably believe is in the best interest of the organization. Next, let's reinstall board members with the new terms. Reinstall for their second 3-year term expiring in 2027, Sophie Hearn, Denise Rosenblum, Caesar Stewart Morales, and Phil Strauss. Reinstall for their third 3-year term expiring in 2027, Fernando Castro and Deborah Gottbetter. Reinstall for their second 1-year term expiring in 2025, youth board members Ben Gelber and Ben Myers. And now, one of the most exciting parts of the evening, installing our newest board members to the class of 2027. Yeah, there we go. Hands up. All right, excellent. Ann Budner. Ann is the founder and principal of A. Budner Strategy Consulting, offering strategic planning, board development, outcome measurement, and meeting facilitation services to nonprofit organizations. Prior to striking out on her own in 2016, she led the nonprofit practice at Carlisle Company in Concord, Massachusetts for 17 years, where she was responsible for managing the company's pro bono and reduced rate consulting work. Ann's clients include Acton Boxborough United Way, Association of Fundraising Professionals, Concord Carlisle Community Chest, Enterprise Bank, Foundation for Metro West, Mount Wachusett Community College's Center for Nonprofit Success, and Metro West Nonprofit Network. Her nonprofit leadership includes work as executive director of 3 different nonprofit organizations in Boston, Cambridge, and Metro West, and has served on governance, program, and fundraising committees. Ann was for many years the co-chair of the Social Action Committee of Congregation Beth Elohim in Acton, and led the effort to expand the group to address social justice. Her latest role as part of that work was to lead a large team in partnership with the Boxborough Church and JFS to support the settlement of an immigrant Afghan family of 6. Ann is a mother of 2 and co-founder, dancer, and choreographer for Encore Dance Ensemble. She holds Master's of Education from Harvard University and Bachelor's in Science from Northwestern University. Cheryl Carter. Cheryl is currently a senior managing director and head of organizations at SLR Credit Solutions, a non-bank direct payment credit provider. She is responsible for business development and marketing strategy and is a member of the company's investment committee. Prior to SLR Credit Solutions, formerly known as Crystal Financial, she held business development roles focused on the retail, consumer, and restaurant sectors at GE Franchise Finance, Capital Source, and Fleet Retail Finance. Cheryl has supported several nonprofit organizations, including More Than Words, Boston Impact Initiative, Combined Jewish Philanthropy, and PanMass Challenge. She recently served as co-chair for CJP's Miriam Fund. She received her MBA at the F.W. Olin Graduate School of Business at Babson College and her BBA at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. To our new board members, please stand so we can recognize you. Welcome to one of the most exciting and impactful boards you will ever be part of. For our returning board members, thank you for your past, current, and future service to JFS.
Let's hear it again for Ann, Cheryl. Congratulations. Thank you, Rabbi, Braham, David, for officiating the installation, discharge and installation. We're almost done. I normally have a few words to say before we conclude our annual meeting. Just to give you an update of what's happening and what we are looking for in the future. First, I want to thank Temple Beth Shalom for hosting us tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much for Dr. Blue for being part of our program. I want to thank our great board of directors for your commitment to our work. A very special shout out to Javier Ceballos. You're not here, right, Javier? I know you weren't sure we're gonna be here. He just completed 3 terms, 9 years of service, and I wanted to say a few words about Javier. He started when he was the president of Framingham State University, and somehow along the way, he convinced me to be a trustee of Framingham University. Yeah, I need to talk to Javier about that. Javier has been, and he was here, I would be looking at him, he has been an absolute game changer to so much of our work, particularly with immigrant services. He's been in our Immigrant Service Committee, and Justice Council, and just his questions have been invaluable as we have proceeded in this really important high-risk work of welcoming the stranger, immigrants, asylum seekers. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I know we can count on him to continue to be on that committee, even though he's coming off the board. He has said, you can count on me, Lino, to still be on that committee, so we'll hold him to that. So let's give him a big round of applause. Allison, as you noted, it was a quick year. It's been filled with impact working with you as our board chair. I know this year went fast, as we've noted, but I think the second year is going to go even faster. So I know there's a lot of things you want to put in place, and I'm your partner in this work, so I look forward to doing that work, particularly with mental health wellness for our staff. And to our new board members, Ann and Cheryl, we recruited each of you for a reason, right? I think we had conversations, our great governance committee, nominating committee, when they talk to you, right? Your question is, why me, right? So hopefully we answer that question, and we continue to strive for our board to have diversity in gender, background, interest, and the like as we look to the future of our work. It's really important. And a few years ago, the board looked completely different than it looks today, and that's been by design. I want to thank our governance and nominating committee under the leadership of Ian and Barbara Schultz, who've done a great job. This coming year, right? We continue to execute our 5-year strategic plan and help most vulnerable amongst our 3 cohort groups. Right? That's older adults, Jewish families in need, and immigrants. And within immigrants, right, that's refugees, asylum seekers, humanitarian parolees, war evacuees, whether from Afghanistan, Ukraine, temporary protected status, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of movement in the immigrant space. And as you know, in those 3 cohort groups, we have 3 strategic pillars. I'd like to just remind us of those. Certainly as a direct service agency, it is enhancing, changing, whatever it takes to our direct service delivery to meet the current and, more importantly, the future needs of our community, right? We're always thinking about the future. And certainly this includes navigating the housing crisis, fighting hate and anti-Semitism, and engagement of the Jewish community and broader community in our work. That is central to our strategy that we know JFS cannot do it alone. And it's right, it's that whole whole person, whole community model of engaging everybody that has an interest in taking care of people. And sometimes convincing those that think may have an interest in taking care of people to be a partner with us. That's number one pillar, for sure, is really enhancing our ability to provide direct service and respond to the community. Number two, continue to increase our branding and marketing communications to enhance our ability to tell the stories of the humans we help. I think that's a really important part of making sure the community knows the stories of all those individuals we help. Because that informs the community, the true work that our staff is doing, that our volunteers are doing, and the suffering that's happening in our community. Many times the suffering goes unnoticed until there's a real problem. And of course, the whole really having fantastic market communication really helps our ability to form those collaborative partnerships with municipalities, as we've seen with the city of Framingham, donors, foundations, etc. And we have been working tirelessly, so we are no longer the best kept secret. That used to be a term that used to be with us when a donor found us and said, oh man, you guys are the best kept secret. We've been working tirelessly to make sure that is no longer, quote, a thing. And number three, just as equally as important as all those two pillars, the third pillar is sustainability, right? Sustainability through our more diverse funding streams. Yes, more unrestricted. Yes, more restricted program revenue, including growing our share of government funding. I mentioned that earlier today, that we're little by little gaining a larger share of government funding. The fact is, right, taxpayers pay taxes, so the citizens are taken care of. So we need a larger share of that. Not too big, because again, one of the things we really like at JFS is our ability to be nimble, right, to move fast. And if you're too leveraged on government funding, that's hard to do. And of course, a major area of sustainability for us is volunteers. As I mentioned earlier, we have 350 active volunteers. That's growing. We are having our volunteers really in just about everything we do at JFS in direct service. We have retired doctors, we have retired nurses, we have retired social workers helping us with direct service. And we're going to grow that because the fact is we can't grow our budget fast enough to hire people with just increase in need in the community. We are most worried at JFS about our aging population. That's what keeps us all up at night. Yes, the high operation tempo currently is with the immigrant programs and the influx of migrants to our community, but the new arrivals are young and will establish themselves here and work and sustain themselves. Eventually we'll be fine. It's our aging population on fixed income, lacking affordable housing, needing services in a large scale in the future is an area we're constantly looking at. We call it the gray tsunami that's coming, right? The gray tsunami, silver-haired people, they're gonna need assistance. 5 years, it's gonna double. In 10 years, it's gonna double again, right? So we're really figuring out how we're prepared to handle this large increase in need and not be overwhelmed. And there's no higher priority than housing. The housing crisis cuts across all cohort groups, and we are seeing an immediate impact on our older adult population. And as you know, JFS does not sit still. We're always thinking of innovative ways to tackle the problem. The housing crisis is a massive problem, but through our establishment of innovative home share project, which you heard about tonight with our award with the city of Framingham, that project we call the Golden Girls, I mentioned, is really a partnership with the city of Framingham, the Callahan Senior Center, right? We went to them, we had an idea, and together we said, yes, we could work together to test this model, and we're close. We have currently 4 matches, and we're pretty close to be able to scale that model. And what I'm really excited about is an immigrant model, where we're gonna move an immigrant family in with older adults that need services. And the older adult or adults have a single family home. They have some financial distress. So moving an immigrant family with government funding, that means that immigrant family will be paying rent to that older adult. And in addition, those older adults needing services, the traditional immigrant family, the mom, wife can provide services for those older adults through our home care program. We're really excited about this model because it covers a lot of social determinants of health, right? The financial distress for the older adult, housing for the immigrants, and then home care to maintain those older adults safe and independent at home. And that all happens because we get in a room and just think about crazy ideas. Many people would say, that's a crazy idea. How are you going to possibly move a family from Haiti in with these older adults that have been living by themselves for quite a few years? But if we did not have the core competency that we have of just fabulous case management and just great employees, I would never touch such a model. But we have these amazing employees and have great core competency in case management. And it takes, really when we think about these crazy ideas, I mentioned, innovation, courage, and action. And this leads me to a very exciting next phase of growth at JFS. As many of you know, we opened the JFS Center for Social Innovation in memory of Susan Copeland. The mission of the center will be to focus on assisting JFS and local nonprofit organizations to develop coordinated, new creative approaches to the many social challenges in the community, currently and in the future. The establishment of the center very much aligns with JFS's strategic plan service model of the whole family, whole community approach, like I mentioned before, to convene and enhance the combined impact of nonprofits, faith organizations, government, and community. Just yesterday, I was at the Presbyterian Church in Sudbury talking about this whole concept of involving faith organizations in this work, and they're very excited because most faith organizations have a lot of potential energy for good. They just sometimes don't have the capability to convert it to kinetic, to action. But with an organization like JFS, which we have really sound volunteer programs, we invested in the infrastructure of volunteer programs, we're able to assist them to help us with our mission. And I'm very happy that now we have the leadership in place to really get the center rolling to a growth phase. Adam Smith. Adam, stand up. Who has been a leader, convener, and innovator in the Jewish community for over 20 years, was recently hired as Senior Director of Innovation and Community Engagement. I'm really excited to work with you and to work with our entire staff, because it's really important that this Innovation Center is not going to be this entity on the side, that it's going to be very much intertwined with everything we do at JFS. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not communicate to you tonight and to our viewers on Zoom what a great philanthropic investment for social good JFS is. I always talk about this. We have, because I should gloat. What's that? Because I need to. We have a multi-year star rating at Charity Navigator with 100%, that's right, 100% perfect score. And we're in the top 1% of over 9,000 nonprofits in the U.S. Many thanks to our board of directors and our current donors and supporters. We invite others to join us. It is only with your involvement and generosity that JFS's collective impact is possible. Finally, I want to thank our amazing professional staff and volunteers that have continued to go beyond the call of duty and responding to the needs of our clients and their families. And if you're here or on Zoom, please stand up so you can be recognized. Staff and volunteers, please stand up. As I often say, you are my heroes. Without you, we wouldn't be able to help our clients in need. And thank you to you, and I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. And what else can I say but go Celtics? Good night.